Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Barrett, the librarian for public health majors at the University of Rochester. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief tour of the public health subject guide, show you how to find scholarly research as well as gray literature, and how to cite this literature. First, let's start with how to find the subject guide for public health. In any public health class in Blackboard, locate the navigation pane along the left-hand side and click on Library Resources. A new window will open with the guide. From the library website, library.rochester.edu, scroll down and there will be a link to all research guides. This will bring you to a huge listing of guides that is sorted alphabetically. Last, if you ever receive an email from me, you'll always see a link to the public health guide in my signature line. In the public health guide, the first thing I want to point out are the tabs along the top. The Home tab is for research resources. Here you'll find databases, websites, gray literature search tips, and how to browse journals using Browzine. Along the right-hand side, you'll see links to the guides I've created for specific classes, an RSS link to New York Times Health News, as well as information on how to contact me. I have the databases and web resources broken down into 4 main topical areas. Within disease and nutrition, I have the top recommended database as PubMed. If you're not familiar with PubMed or need a refresher, I've included a short video as well as a breakdown with links to the specific sections that I cover. The next tab, Environmental Health and Toxicology, will be of most relevance for you taking environmental health. Here you'll find links to some relevant websites, most notably the site of the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. The ATSDR is a federal public health agency within the United States Department of Health and Human Services. In this site, you'll find a variety of toxicology information that will be very helpful for you completing case studies on specific exposures. To give you an example, I'll do a quick search on cadmium. Here I can see that there are some toxicological profiles, there's a substance priority list, there are even case studies that I can look at, as well as interaction profiles and even more information. Under other toxicology resources, you'll see a link to the Micromedics database, and we have access to this through the minor library, so you'll need to log in using your NetID and password. And this database will have some similar information to the ATSDR, but it'll be much more detailed. So I'll do another search for cadmium so you can see what I mean. From this screen, I can see an overview, but rather than quick answers, I'm going to take a look at in-depth answers. And you can see just how easy it is to navigate the site and see what the clinical effects are. Laboratory, there's specific abstracts with case reports you can look at, as well as treatment range of, there's just so much information in here. In this section as well, there is a link to a book, A Small Dose of Toxicology, The Health Effects of Common Chemicals. This is a free ebook that you can access just by clicking on the link. I also have a link to PubMed once again. This would be a great site to try to find case studies. If you're not coming across that information in the other toxicology resources I showed you. Now in the next tab, Policy, you'll see the top recommendations. I'm not linking to specific databases. Here I'm saying that probably the easiest way to find this information is either by site searching, which I'll go into a little bit more detail about a little later in this video. But also the library website would be a good way to get at policy information. One more tab over, the last tab that I have broken out is on the social determinants of health. And this is kind of another tricky topic to kind of choose like one specific database. It doesn't really exist just because the social determinants are so wide ranging. So you'd really want to use either the library website or Google Scholar to find this type of information, depending on what your topic is. So if you do use Google Scholar, I highly recommend that you link the website to our library. And if you do this, you will see what articles we have full text access to. It's a really quick thing to do, and I've linked a video to show you how to do that. All right, so those were the 4 tabs for recommended databases and web resources. As I go down the page, the next section is going to be on gray literature, which is incredibly important for public health. Anything published by the government, including laws or information from sites like the CDC or ATSDR, those are all considered gray literature. Anything published by the WHO, Amnesty International, the RAND Corporation, or any other nonprofits, NGOs, businesses, and even schools, like everything that they publish are gray literature. They kind of fall outside of scholarly literature because they're not peer-reviewed per se. But you know, they have a lot more authority than anything that's published popularly, like by individuals. So here I have some examples on how to use site searching to find gray literature. Now, there's really 2 ways you can go about site searching. You can search specific domains or subdomains, but you can also search one specific website. Yes, most websites do have their own search functionality, usually, but they're terrible. And most search engines' algorithms are going to be much better. So for this, I usually use Google. First, you'll enter in your keyword or words, followed by the word site and a colon with no spaces. Right next to the colon, again, without a space, you should enter in the domain or website you're searching. I'll show you a couple examples of these searches. Here's a search for cadmium, and I'm doing a site search for the .int domain. So this is one that is also used by the WHO, the World Health Organization. So you'll see that this is my first result is the information that the WHO is publishing about cadmium. The next search I'm going to do is going to be within the ATSDR site. So here I can immediately see there's a public health statement, there's a direct link to ToxFacts as well as a toxicological profile, all through the ATSDR site. Now, I just want to quickly kind of compare this search to what I searched for within the ATSDR, the actual site itself. So, you know, this is really a personal preference. If you want to go to the ATSDR site, do a search for whatever substance you're looking for, or you could try doing a site search like this. It's just an easier and quicker way to get at this information. So once again, site searching is mainly used for things that you can Google, things that are on the open web, things that are publicly available. It's really not going to work within databases. It's not the same thing. All right, so let's go back to the guide. And down here, once again, if you want to browse journals, Browzine is a really great program for doing that. I'll click on this and just show you what I'm talking about real quick. This is a link to all general public health journals. American Journal of Public Health is obviously the main one of the United States. It's an easy way to browse for information. This isn't a way to discover information, but if you're interested in knowing what's going on right now within public health, it will give you a good idea. Now I'm going to go back up to the top of the guide. So this was all the information that is just on research resources. The next tab over is for data sets and statistics. And here you'll see a breakdown between local, regional, and national open data, as well as international statistics. As I scroll down a little bit more, you'll find links to specific national surveillance data. as well as some statistical databases. If you are ever looking for like visualizations, specifically mapping, Social Explorer is really awesome for that. And if that is something you do want to kind of take advantage of and learn a little bit about, feel free to contact me. And then I also have some additional data by topic. Back up to the top, the next tab over, I have some resources on internships and funding and more. So if you want to go to a conference or things like that, there are resources both for undergraduate and graduate students. I also have links to URMC labs and faculty that you might want to take a look at if you are interested in doing some research. Now, the next three tabs all have to do with citations. Let's take a look at APA. This citation style was created by the American Psychological Association and is used in many of the social sciences. As I scroll down the page, you can see where examples are provided by type. From this example, you can see that APA is a parenthetical citation style for in-text citations. In your bibliography or works cited section, all in-text citations should be organized alphabetically by author name. This is very different from the AMA style, which is the style used by the American Medical Association and what many public health scholars use. AMA uses consecutive numerical in-text citations that are superscripted and are placed outside of periods or commas. If you use the same reference additional times within your paper, the same in-text citation number should be used. Your reference list will be listed in the order of the citations in your paper rather than alphabetically. While AMA is easier to read, it's a nightmare to manually format. If you need to use AMA in a paper, I highly recommend that you use a reference manager to store, create citations, and format your bibliography for you. River Campus Libraries does support several different reference managers. When I was in graduate school, I used EndNote since I was using journal articles as my primary references. However, if you're using other types of works as references, I highly recommend that you use a program called Zotero, which I have linked to this guide. Now I'm going to share a short video about Zotero.
Hi everyone, this is Kyle, your friendly e-learning librarian, here to tell you about an amazing piece of technology that's going to change your life. I'm here in a library database looking at an article I want to cite in my research paper. See that icon that looks like a piece of paper? That's Zotero, and he's your new best friend. When I click that icon, Zotero pulls in all of the information about that article and stores it for me in my Zotero library, which lives down here in my Firefox browser. Now get ready to pick your jaw up off the floor. If I drag that article to a Google Doc or a Word document, it formats the citation for me. One click and one drag. That is literally all it took. And check this out. It works almost everywhere. Amazon? Yep. Library catalogs and databases? You bet. Google Scholar? New York Times? YouTube? Yes, yes, and yes. It's so easy to save your sources with Zotero that you'll never have to track down a source again. That's not all it does. Zotero can be integrated within your word processor of choice to do in-text citations easier than ever before. When you're done inserting your citations, Zotero allows you to insert an entire formatted bibliography with one click. It works with all of the most popular citation styles, so no matter what format your project requires, Zotero has you covered. And the best part? Zotero is free. I'll let that sink in for a second. We just barely scratched the surface.
One really important aspect that the video doesn't show is something I'm going to show you in my personal Zotero. So within this subfolder, you can see I have basically like a ton of journal articles. And I'm going to click onto the little drop down next to a reference, and you can see that there are PDFs that are attached to that reference. All of the citation information is on the right-hand side, and then attached to the citation is the actual PDF of that article. Now, as you can see, as I scroll down a bit, you can mark up this PDF using whatever software you would normally use. And then you can just simply save it. And then these changes are going to be saved within the article within your Zotero. So I know I just shared a ton of information with you. If you ever have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me through email or schedule an appointment. A lot of times I'm also available on chat, and when I'm logged in, you'll be able to see that through an icon that will appear right over here.